Hello and welcome to the WAO podcast. I am so excited to be speaking with you all today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a very exciting show for you. So, into it. Hello and welcome to the WAO podcast. My name is Nakia Young, and I am here in the studio with some very important people, and we're going to be digging into a very awesome, very important topic. We're going to be talking about the mental health crisis during the pandemic. We are most certainly in a nationwide mental health crisis, and we have been ever since 2020. We are now 3 years post-pandemic. Some people say the pandemic never ended. Some people feel there was a direct cutoff point, and some people say, no, we just kind of never stopped. So no matter how you view it, we are 3 years into this thing, and we're starting to see some of the ways that mental health has been impacted. So we're going to get into that, but before we do, I want to give our guests some time to introduce themselves, and I'll tell you a little bit about me once they're finished. We will begin with the lovely Sharon Giles. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I am doing awesome.
I am Sharon Giles. I am a professional floral designer, mixed media artist, and an inspirational story. I am, we would call a community activist. I'm very active in my community. I serve in our food pantry. Let's see, I tutor ESL students, mostly adults, at the community college out here. And yeah, I keep myself encouraged so that I can encourage those who come in contact with.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we'll just give a virtual round of applause for Miss Sharon Giles. Woo! Thank you for being with us. And next, we have the lovely Dee Marie Smith. Dee Marie, come on and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, where you're from, all that fun stuff.
Hello, everyone. I am Dee Marie Smith. I am a mother, a grandmother, a wife. I am a senior supervisor of a major insurance company in which I've been with for 21 years. I love what I do. I love helping people. I love helping people in every area of their life, encouraging them, building them up. And that's why I'm here, to encourage, uplift, and empower. Thank you, Miss Nakia.
Thank you, Dee Marie. I'm giving you an applause as well. So we've got some really big heavy hitters in the studio today. And I'll tell you all a little bit about myself. My name is Nakia Young. I am a best-selling author, certified master life coach, board certified mental health coach, and speaker. I'm also a TEDx speaker. I have 3 children. So I'm giving y'all a little disclaimer. I'm going to be asking these ladies some questions and then quickly muting myself, because even though I've moved myself to a different part of the house, some of their noises have been traveling downstairs. So that's just my little disclaimer. I'll try to mute that out as much as possible. But yep, I'm a mom of 3, happily married. And that's pretty much it. I love empowering people as well and helping people to live victoriously. I have a company, Victorious Living Solutions, and that's what that company is all about, doing that. So let's get into it, ladies. And the first question that I have, basically, we already answered the who are you and what do you do, but let's think back. Let's just all think back to the start of the pandemic. Let's think back to March, I want to say 10th. And I'm saying 10th because the lockdown started on March 11th. So if you think back to the day before lockdown started, and we had no idea what was about to hit us, what were you doing? And we'll start with Dee Marie. What was going on in your world at that time?
At that time, I was an in-office employee. Since the lockdown, I have been working from home. To being interactive with employees and with colleagues and friends on the job is one of the things that I am known for as being a cheerful person and a ray of sunshine, always spreading positiveness in the environment. And that's what I was doing, going to and from work every day, traveling to downtown location.
Okay, and you said you're traveling from downtown. So how far is downtown from where you live? Like how long was your commute?
My commute, if I drove, was 30 minutes. If I commuted on public transportation, it was an hour.
Okay. Okay. That matters. We'll get into that a little later. So good.
Yes.
You were just living your best in-office life.
Yes.
Yes, I love it. All right, Sharon. So what were you up to the day before lockdown?
Well, I remember my last day at church, and we hugged and said, okay, this is not in. We're going to still be doing what we do. We just won't be doing it in this building, but we are the church. And my 6 friends, girlfriends, we continue to do what we would normally have done had we had the opportunity to be outside. And what was that? That was called lunch. That was prayer. That was just conversation. I I had the Zoom account, and it was we were just so creative insofar as still having lunch. I remember saying, okay, so this week, since I'm the host, we're gonna do tuna salad. So we set the table, each one set the table at their, of course, at their own home, and they sat down. That was the sad time to see them sitting at the table by themselves. But we still had good conversation, and we would go around and to see whose table looked the best. Of course, mine did because I had flowers on it. Then whose food looked the best? No, that was not me. Oh, each week we would have a different type of menu. And that's how we continued to get together. We read books, we read the Bible. Like I said, we prayed together, and we talked about if if we were outside, what would be going on in our lives. Like I said, I'm a volunteer at the local food pantry. The food pantry did not close down. We had our clients still coming in. We just had everyone sanitized, and they wore the text gloves, and they had to stand. I actually did the chalk on the floor, 6 feet apart. So
Social distancing.
yeah, it was a very creative time, a very trying time for a lot of people. Of course, we lost so many people during that time. So we had, of course, prayer service. Even with the clients wanted to pray with us. We always prayed before we started the food pantry, allowing the clients come in because we're in a church that we pay rent to. So it's not, we're not members of that church. But I've heard stories from the clients, sad stories, happy stories, but we prayed.
Yeah. Let's see. Thank you, Sharon. I can tell you what I was doing during that time. Right before lockdown started, I was extremely pregnant, and I was getting ready for my doctor's appointment. I had to go I was having twins. So when you get to super close to about weeks away from giving birth, they make you come twice a week. I had already gone that Monday for my first appointment of the week, and my second appointment was that Wednesday, March 11th. So now we're going to get into the day that it started. So I will tell you, I went the day of lockdown, Wednesday, March 11th, went to the doctor. I was in a new car. We had just gotten the car the day before. So that was the other thing I was doing the day before the lockdown. And why did we get a new car? Because on Monday, March 9th, our engine blew up when my husband was on the way to work. So we had to get a new car. So we get in our new van, go to the doctor, and then I found out I was not going to be able to go home because my blood pressure was up and I had preeclampsia, and I was admitted. My husband went to take our son somewhere to stay with friends. And as they were going home to get stuff because we didn't have anything. We just went for a doctor's appointment, and then it was like, oh, so he had to go get our luggage, get stuff together. On his way to go do that, someone T-boned him and my son and totaled the new van that we had just gotten the day before. So that's what I was doing. All of that happened during the day, and then that night, it was lockdown was official and COVID was here and nothing was the same. So let's get into after it hits and we're all like, huh? What? Stay in the house? DeMarie, what was going on in your household when you first heard the news? We have never, I felt like we were all back in high school and we just got grounded.
Well, for me, most people don't know, but I'm an introvert. So staying in the house was just perfect for me.
It's my time to shine.
So it was for me when I went to work, they actually sent us home and told us not to come back. So we were in the middle of the day. It was near the end, but we were at work in the office and they, oh, we're going to clear the building. Everyone go home. Do not come back until you are notified by your leadership. Okay. So I had to send my employees home and I came home. We took some of our desk equipment with us and that was it. And as far as home is concerned, my husband being a public servant, and as they say, an essential worker at the time, was required to continue to go out into the world to work every day as he does today. So, of course, that was a scary thought for me because I was part of the high risk economy because of the sicknesses that I have, the illnesses that I have. And it was just scary at that time because they not knowing if I was going to have it, if I was going to die or anything. So there were some scary thoughts. But other than that, being in the house was right up my lane. Being able to log onto my laptop every morning for work. Of course, I'm grateful for that. It was shocking because you're used to going to work every day and then your whole world is turned upside down to say, hey, don't come in anymore until further notice. And you don't know when that notice is. You don't know if you're going to still be employed. You don't know if you're going to be able to go to school. You don't know if it was just so many what ifs that go on in your mind. And just like I said, for me, I was okay with being in the house. As a sickly kid, I was accustomed to being in the house because I was sickly most of the time in and out the hospital. Most of my days were spent at home. So as an adult, I was used to being in the house. So that part wasn't new for me. It was just new to the fact that I would no longer, or at the time, would not be required to travel into the office for that time period, for whatever time period it is. And as of now, it's 3.5 years because since I came home, I have not gone back to work.
Yeah.
And I'm still living and I'm still excited. And that's how it was for me.
Wow. Man, I can't imagine. I don't know if you mind sharing, what was the illness that you had that made you
as a kid, I was diagnosed with asthma.
Okay.
November of 2019, I was diagnosed, which is a few months before COVID, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Got it.
But I'm happy to say, as of today, I am not taking any meds for either one, asthma nor diabetes, because since being in home with COVID, I've changed my lifestyle completely, and I'm not required to take any meds for asthma nor for diabetes.
That is awesome, DeMarie. Oh my gosh, what an amazing testimony. I have asthma too, so yeah, I was definitely listening to whatever they had to say about staying in the house. And myself, my 7-year-old son, and one of the twins deal with asthma. So Miss Sharon, let's go over to you. It's lockdown day one. We're just dealing with day one because we didn't know. I remember a time when we very naively thought, oh, it will probably just be about 3 or 4 weeks tops. We were all kind of really cool about it at first. So we're just dealing with The first day, what are you thinking when they basically tell us we're grounded, we can't go outside to play?
I opened my curtains wide and looked out. I live in the downtown section of the town I live in, and it was quiet, quiet. My gosh. Oh my gosh. It's like, what has happened? I don't see any buses. I don't see anything, no school buses, nothing. I'll actually tell you that I was a little fearful in the beginning because the world had stopped. The world had quieted down. And like I said, I live in the downtown area. There's restaurants. There's a pizza restaurant right across the street. No one was going in and out. I do believe, and I can still feel myself. I was tearful. I was prayerful and tearful because the world had stopped. I'm not one to look at the television, but I had the news on. I was clicking on various news channels, just trying to see what the rest of the world was doing outside of my community. And it was all silent. Insofar as all and seeing all of the deaths that occurred and just seeing people crying, everything was just so sad. So yeah, like I said, the food pantry was still serving food to our clients, and knowing that the children were not in school, me being a creative person, I did coloring books. I made coloring books by printing things off of the internet and giving crayons to the kids to, okay, you do this and you bring this back when you come back. If we like it, we're going to give you a gift. And so, yes, I had a lot of gifts to give to the children just to keep them occupied. I made notebooks for the parents to write their thoughts down. I love to journal. So I made little notebooks for the parents to write down their thoughts. And I asked the women, since I'm also connected with the domestic violence center out here, if they notice anything unusual in the house. Just they know to trust me. So just things such as that. It was closeness. My floors were happy because I actually mopped with my hands. Yes, just like grandma used to do. So my bathroom was applauding me. Both bathrooms were applauding me because I used my hands.
I love it. Hey, we were trying to keep ourselves busy doing anything. So we've got about a minute before the break. And after the break, we're going to be discussing mental health in depth. So let me just give you all the definition of what mental health is. This is like a buzzword phrase we hear bantered about: mental health this and mental health that. What is mental health? So I'm looking at the definition that is listed on WHO, which is the World Health Organization. And it talks about the pandemic triggers and stressors. It says mental health is a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn and work well, which is some of what Sharon was talking about, and contribute to their community. It is an integral component of health and well-being that underpins our individual and collective abilities to make decisions, build relationships, and shape the world we live in. Mental health is a basic human right, and it is crucial to personal, community, and socioeconomic development. And so we're going to get into, after the break, how all of that was very much threatened and still is being threatened by this global pandemic. Stay tuned.
Stuck in the resume rut? Can't seem to find the right words to showcase your skills? We've got you covered at HR Depot. Our expert team craft resumes that are more than just a piece of paper. We turn your experiences into stories, your skills into assets, and your dreams into reality. Whether you're a fresh graduate or a seasoned professional, let us help you take that crucial first step towards your dream job. Visit HRDepotLLC.com or call us today, and let's redefine success together. HR Depot, where your potential shines.
And we're back. So if you're just tuning in, this is the WAO podcast, and we have been talking about the mental health crisis during the pandemic. Before the break, I was giving a definition of what mental health is. And it just talks about your spiritual, emotional, mental state of well-being, whatever that looks like for you, and all the different things that impact it. So I would say when we're talking about the mental health crisis during the pandemic, whatever your mental health level was before, the pandemic did a good job of exposing or amplifying your current mental health state times, I would say, magnified times 10, whatever that was. So whatever your strengths were, you just really dug into those and pulled those coping strategies out. And whatever your weaknesses were, baby, it just amplified those times 10. And a lot of people found their way to a therapist chair. Well, not really, because we couldn't go anywhere, but found their way to a camera and had therapy sessions on Zoom. We were doing a lot of different things to try to deal with what happens. So as I mentioned before the break, we all kind of thought, well, okay, it was March when this kicked off, and we thought, oh, by Easter, it'll be done. Well, by Easter, it wasn't done. And a lot of us we were used to putting on our nice Easter hats and church suits and getting all gussied up and going out and about and eating at restaurants for Easter, and we didn't get to do any of that. We sitting here still looking at Zoom. And we thought, oh, maybe by summer, it'll be over. And summer came, and it wasn't over. So as this continued to lengthen and we kind of started seeing no end in sight, two of the biggest mental health issues that cropped up, and actually there's three according to the WHO, World Health Organization. If you look on their website, there's an article there that talks about the pandemic and how it exacerbated mental health issues. The three biggest ones that came up were anxiety, depression, and substance abuse. Anxiety, depression, and substance abuse. So I'm going to ask my panel here. Let's start with DeMarie. What would you say of those three? What would you say was the biggest challenge for you, mental health wise? Was it anxiety? Was it depression? What do you think?
For me personally, it was not a challenge. Okay. However, my family members, specifically my granddaughters, experience lots of anxiety. They too are accustomed to interacting in school with their friends on the phone, and this was something they could no longer do. My daughter has her own daycare, so that reduced her children coming. So it affected her, and them being in the house together all day, doing the e-learning and things like that. And they too ended up having the counseling sessions. But one of the things that I will say is I made sure, because although they had the anxiety, I didn't want them to become depressed. So I made sure that I was constantly in contact with them, and they were in contact with me and their granddad. That communication was so important, and just to give them that avenue to talk, to say, verbalize, why are you having this anxiety, being able to express themselves. Well, I miss my friends. Okay, but you can talk to your friends. You all have iPhones, so y'all can do that. What do they call it? Where you can see each other that way and FaceTime. Have that conversation. FaceTime, thank you. They can have that FaceTime and have that conversation. And no, you may not be able to physically see them and interact with them, but that's some form. And I always teach them to look at the positives.
Yeah.
So and I think that is so important to help them with it, to talk about it, express how you feel, but then let's come up with a solution. And I think that is so important. So that's why I say anxiety for them was the peak.
Yeah.
And even it doesn't take much for them because they've experienced so many things as children. But this right here was just the top of the line. And we've had some conversations with shouts, because they needed to get it out. And I just want you to get it out, because I don't want you to be depressed. I don't want any suicidal thoughts or anything like that. So I just think that was so important, and for them to have that avenue to interact with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And how old are your granddaughters? Or how old were they at that time?
Well, today they're 15 and 18.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
guess that would be what, 12 and 15?
Yeah. Mhm. And teenagers were really hit hard. I felt so
Yes.
bad for anyone who was graduating, whether they were graduating middle school or whether they were graduating high school. You know, I can remember being a kid and just so looking forward to those activities, those end of year activities and the graduation dances and the parties and, oh, it's going to be prom. You know, high school kids really look forward to their prom and their graduation, and they just got cheated out of all of that. And that was
Yes.
a lot of teens. Yeah.
So true.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sharon, let's cut over to you. What do you feel was your biggest challenge mentally during that time period?
I think keep everyone else encouraged and motivated on the upswing. Like DeMarie said, I especially reached out to my grandchildren. I have 6 altogether. I have 3 here, and I have 3 that live in Arizona. And communicating with them on FaceTime, doing FaceTime and on Zoom was like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Granny, what are you doing? I'm doing the same thing I was doing about 10 minutes ago. Well, look at me. Look at me. One thing about living in a warmer climate, they were able to go outside. They have a swimming pool in the backyard, so they were able to. My son was able to cook food on the grill. So there was a lot of activity going on in the backyard at their house. However, those here in Illinois, but they're older, but they suffered also. There was constant conversation with them and making sure they do what they do. My granddaughter in Arizona at the time, she turned 7, and I'm a supporter of Laura B., the Children's Hospital. And she thought about the children. And I said, well, you're going to be 7. What can we do? So we thought about, so well, I sent 70 masks to Laura B. for the children. And I must admit, when they got a chance, of course, they have to go through that sterilization process. But then the staff sent me pictures of the children wearing the masks that she sent. And so I sent the masks to her and we talked about it on Zoom. She was just delighted that she had helped someone else. And just continue to keeping people encouraged was what I was doing and trying to keep myself encouraged. And I thank God for God.
Yes, thank you for that. Faith definitely played a part in my coping strategy. Being postpartum while the world is falling apart was quite a unique experience for me. Journaling got me through it. Church, I church hopped a lot. I pretty much every church I thought about wanting to visit, I visited, and on Zoom, of course. And then just going for walks around the neighborhood, getting fresh air. I couldn't, have to social distance. So I didn't wear a mask, but if someone came close to me, I put a mask on. But yeah, those were things that definitely kept me clinging to sanity during that time. I would say anxiety and depression were the biggest 2 that I constantly had to war against because I didn't get to have the childbirth and all the experience that I wanted to have. No one could see my baby except through a screen. So, well, you guys, we're getting ready to move into our mindfulness moment. And we've talked about what mental health is. We've talked about some unique struggles that were unique to the pandemic. And so now what? Where do we go from here? And the reason why this is still such a big topic, well, for one thing, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news, but they're saying that there's a possibility that we could have another lockdown. There have been rumblings of COVID case, there are new strains of COVID out, and COVID cases are rising. There are about 26 states that have been seeing a rise in COVID-19 cases. So prayerfully, we don't get to levels that we were in 2020, but it is good to know your triggers, know what mental health is so you can know when something is wrong. And if you're having any kind of suicide ideations, feelings of hopelessness, feelings that things are not going to get better, people lost their businesses, people had severe economic hardships because everything was closed for so long. And people are in a position, some people are still trying to climb out of the hole that they fell into financially during this period. Please do not struggle and suffer in silence. Please reach out for help, especially if you are feeling like life would be better if you were no longer here, feelings of hopelessness. Call the suicide hotline. They made it a simple 3-digit number now. You can call or text 988. 988. That is the suicide hotline. And your local church, a lot of churches are having counseling ministries or just figuring out ways they can help congregations and help members of their community. Some people, especially in the African American community, are kind of skeptical about therapy. Oh, no, I don't want to tell anybody my business. You know, what happens in this house stays in this house, and all of the different cultural things that we experience. But if you are needing help and you are having a mental struggle, that is not the time to be secretive about it. There is no shame in getting the help that you need. And self-care involves putting your own mask on first, like they tell you to do when you get on an airplane. So yes, you have responsibilities at work and you have a responsibility to your family or your church or your community or your this or your that. But if you are trying to help from an empty cup, there's only going to be so long until you experience a mental health crisis. So before it gets to that point, be mindful of your feelings, have self-awareness when things are getting to be too much for you, when there's too much on your plate. Reach out and talk to someone, adjust your schedule, do the things that you need to do to make sure that you are mentally okay so that you can be the best that you can be. All right, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Nakia Young. I want to thank my awesome guests, Miss Sharon Giles and Miss D. Marie Smith, for coming on and sharing your stories. And these ladies have such beautiful spirits. Well, thank you for sharing with us. Do you all have any final words in the last seconds?
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to share.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, ladies, and thank you for tuning in. Goodbye, everybody.
Are you one of those people who hate speaking in front of audiences? Would you like to enhance your communication and leadership skills? Then consider joining the Wrightwood-Ashburn Overcomers Toastmasters Club. Our club will help you conquer your fear of public speaking and teach you how to deliver messages that will win others over. Many times our jobs require us to speak in front of audiences to give PowerPoint presentations. If that's you, we invite you to join us, the Wrightwood-Ashburn Overcomers Toastmasters Club, every second and fourth Saturday between 10:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Come join us online at WAO.Toastmasterclubs.org. Then check out upcoming WAO events.